Now we come to some of the real meat of the matter, the Clintons and their bond and drug dealers. The Clintons' association with bond and drug dealer Dan Lassiter began in 1979 at the Oaklawn Racetrack in Hot Springs, Arkansas, where Bill's mother, Mrs. Kelly, had a box next to his. Lassiter was the founder of the Ponderosa Steakhouse chain. He was very wealthy by the time he met Mrs. Kelly and Clinton's half-brother, Roger. The racetrack friendship soon blossomed into an introduction to Clinton, who was trying to regain the governor's mansion after losing the November '79 election and having money troubles. It was his association with the Clintons that spurred him to open a bond trading firm. Lassiter gave Roger Clinton a job and Bill Clinton major campaign contributions. Bill added Lassiter and Company to the exclusive list of firms eligible to underwrite state bond issues. This classification generated millions in dollars of business for the firm. Lassiter contributed huge sums to Clinton's ongoing political campaigns, sponsored lavish drug parties at his office, paid off Roger Clinton's drug debts, encouraged his staff to donate to Clinton, promising higher commissions to compensate them for their expense, and frequently flew Bill around the country in his private jet. Clinton, dear listeners, for his part, sent Lassiter lucrative bond contracts for the state of Arkansas. Bond issues were one of Clinton's main vehicles for patronage and largesse for him and his cronies. Most of these bonds were issued through the Arkansas Development Finance Authority, which bundled local bond issues to make them more attractive to buyers. ADFA was created in 1985 by Mr. Clinton to expand the state's authority to issue tax-exempt bonds to develop property in Arkansas. Investment bankers in the state and a former ADFA official involved in government bond contracts say it was common knowledge that companies headed by political supporters of Mr. Clinton received favored status for government awards, including business loans through ADFA bond issues. In a letter to the FBI, the former official said that many of the ADFA's bond sales were intended, quote, as political favors or repayments for campaign support, unquote. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted an ADFA bond issue, you played ball with Bill Clinton, and some of your money had better go into his campaign fund. These ADFA bonds were the height of cronyism. Clinton and his friends were able to use them to loot over $1 billion with a B, and now we're getting to the real money, $1 billion with a B dollars from investors. Many of these so-called public project bonds were nothing but shams. They are almost guaranteed to default, leaving thousands of investors with huge losses. And where is the money? Where, dear listeners, is the money? Doing the complex legal work and sending the bonds to market was a bonanza for law firms and underwriters. Hillary's firm got much of the legal work on these bonds. One such contract was the 1985 bond issue to pay for the Arkansas police radio system. Ironically, it was this system which was later used to bust Lassiter on drug charges. Clinton got the Arkansas legislature to approve a contract for Lassiter to sell $30.2 million in the bonds. The contract netted Lassiter $750,000. Lassiter also has passed sweetheart bond deals for the Arkansas Housing Development Agency, AHDA, which awarded millions of dollars in tax-exempt bonds. Altogether, the firm received $1.6 million in brokerage fees for 24 separate tax-exempt bond issues. Representative James Leach of the House Banking Committee is expected to widen his probe of the Whitewater-Madison affair to include these bond deals. Quote, what you have is a picture of Milken-esque economic entanglements in microcosm in the state of Arkansas, unquote, said Leach. These sweetheart deals continued while Lassiter and two of his partners were under investigation for cocaine distribution. Lassiter later was sentenced to 30 months in prison. Although Bill Clinton had personal use of Lassiter's private jet and was rumored to have attended Lassiter's parties, where cocaine sometimes appeared like a blizzard in a veil, as usual, Bill was completely uninvolved and had no knowledge whatsoever. Don't know nothing about no drug parties, don't know nothing about no jet, don't know nothing about no savings and loans, didn't get no money from Whitewater. No knowledge. And, of course, folks, he certainly did not inhale. Even after Lassiter was sentenced to prison, the bond issues continued to flow to his firm. Patsy Thomason, who is presently on Clinton's staff at the White House, was made executive vice president at Lassiter's firm. She was given power of attorney to run the company in his absence. She handled $664 million in Arkansas bond contracts for him. Ms. Thomason is now a Clinton aide at the White House. Where else would she be? Now, why would Lassiter give power of attorney to a Clinton aide if he wasn't Clinton's surrogate all along? I know Clinton's name isn't on it, but he was clearly the one with the power. The Lassiter story would die here, folks, except it gets even more intriguing when you find out how Hillary and her partners at the Rose Law Firm tie into all this. And later, we'll get to a little airstrip in a town called Mena. It's similar to her long-established pattern. The banking officials hire her to sue Lassiter. She fails to disclose her friendship with him or his role as benefactor to her husband. She negotiates a secret out-of-court settlement for far less than the government could have expected to receive. But first, some background. You see, Lassiter's bond trading firm expanded its business beyond Arkansas. He signed deals to trade Treasury bond futures with several savings and loans, including First American Savings and Loan in Oak Brook, Illinois, and Home Federal Savings and Loan in Centralia, Illinois. First American lost at least $361,572 in those T-bond futures trades. Dan Walker, president of First American and a former governor of Illinois, sued Lassiter for unauthorized trading. They had general authority to trade, said Walker, but they were supposed to call us each time they made a trade, and they did not do that. Walker also alleged that Lassiter's firm committed mail wire and securities fraud in the unauthorized trades. His suit never made it to court, however. Walker himself was charged by federal officials of lending himself $1.4 million in federally insured deposits. He was eventually convicted of bank fraud and perjury. Federal regulators seized First American. The FSLIC decided to pursue the $3.3 million suit that Walker began against Lassiter. Of course, they hired the Rose Law Firm. Who else? And the suit was assigned to, guess who? Hillary Clinton. And guess who else, folks? It gets even better. Vincent by God Foster, who later became Deputy White House Counsel for Clinton and who was found dead last July. Hillary and Foster negotiated a confidential settlement. The result, Lassiter paid the government $200,000 in return for a dismissal of the $3.3 million suit. No charges were filed, and he walked away scot-free. Now, it shouldn't take a professor of legal ethics to tell you that Hillary's role in this suit is sleazy. She should have immediately excused herself on grounds of conflict of interest, but as you saw in the previous two programs, she's not in the habit of doing that. Hillary's law firm was hired again by another savings and loan, Home Federal Savings and Loan, in another suit against Lassiter. This suit paralleled that of First American's. Home Federal was seeking a $4.6 million suit against Lassiter and Company, again for unauthorized trading. King Betts was the president of Home Federal. He said that he hired Hillary's firm because the cases were so similar. The government took over Home Federal soon afterward and continued the case. Meanwhile, Thomas Mars, one of the attorneys who had worked with Foster and Hillary in the first suit against Lassiter, left Hillary's firm. Months later, he started representing Lassiter against Home Federal, which was still represented by Hillary's firm. Are you dizzy yet? Don't worry, folks. It gets even better. This roller coaster ride is going to put your stomach right up in the top of your head, I guarantee it. Neither Mars nor Hillary's firm notified Home Federal about this glaring conflict of interest. Betts says he was also never told about Lassiter's ties to the Clintons. Foster Hillary's partner advised Betts to accept a $250,000 out-of-court settlement on the $4.6 million case, and they took it. So Hillary saved Lassiter's neck while representing the government against him, and after he had done time for dealing cocaine, of course, Lassiter had paid off Roger Clinton's cocaine debt, had hired Roger Clinton, was Bill Clinton's protege in business, let him use his jet, brought him in to attend wild, orgasmic parties where the cocaine fell like rain. The final twist in this story takes place in November 1990. Lassiter had been sentenced to 30 months in prison, but after only 4 months in a halfway house and 2 months under house arrest, Governor Bill Clinton gave Lassiter a full pardon. Lassiter is now an executive at Phoenix Mortgage Company in Little Rock. And if you've got money in that company, you better get it out quick. Now, ladies and gentlemen, during this exact same time, the chief of Clinton's personal bodyguards was in charge of the CIA's importation of drugs into the United States of America in a small airstrip in Arkansas called Mena, Arkansas. Clinton denies any knowledge of this. However, when investigators brought this to the attention of the Justice Department, it could no longer be hidden. However, the results of that investigation have not ever been released to the public. But the drugs no longer flow into the United States at Mena, Arkansas. Ollie North knows all about it because the name of Mena, Arkansas came up several times in the Iran-Contra investigations, where they were trading, ladies and gentlemen, arms for drugs, flying the drugs into the United States, selling the drugs, taking the money to finance third world insurrections, illegal wars, and, of course, the destruction of the sovereignty of nations in order to bring about their one world totalitarian socialist government. Ollie North, in his testimony, said that they had even prepared a plan to suspend the Constitution of the United States of America, yet most of you have hailed Ollie North as a great hero. Clinton was obviously and without any doubt involved in the drugs flowing into Mena, Arkansas. There is even speculation, and some evidence has been introduced, that some drugs were manufactured in Arkansas in clandestine labs and distributed from there throughout the rest of the country. Now, I cannot believe that Clinton was nominated for President of the United States. Nick Guarino can't believe that Clinton was nominated for President of the United States. Anyone who has studied Bill Clinton for even 5 minutes is absolutely amazed that he was nominated for the President of the United States. And it's even more shocking that he won the election. Nick Guarino knew Bill Clinton. He knew Arkansas politics. He knew what Bill Clinton had been involved in. How could anyone so corrupt be elected to the presidency of the United States of America? With Clinton's very flawed moral, sexual, emotional, ethical, and business character, he should have been immediately disqualified. Never mind the fact that he clearly dodged the draft, and that has been demonstrated by letters which he wrote in his own handwriting and signed himself. There's no doubt about it. And at a time when Americans were forbidden to travel to the Soviet Union, Bill Clinton was in Moscow being given the red carpet VIP treatment and was given a tour of the Kremlin, met with high-ranking Soviet officials. There is no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that he was being groomed to bring socialism to the United States of America.